Well, I'm joined by Zarria Phillips. She's the Secretary of Bath Against the Cuts and also Chair of Unite Communities. Now, is that just in Bath?
The Bath Against Cuts is, but the Unite Communities, my branch is Bristol, Bath, Gloucester, Stroud, Weston-super-Mare and all the villages in between.
OK, well, maybe we better start there. What is Unite Community?
Right, well, Unite Community was brought into action about 5 years ago. Unite founded the community membership.
This is the trade union?
Yeah.
Can you just give us an idea of how big Unite is? It's a trade union and it's kind of various other unions have come together to form it, but how many people overall?
I would say there's about 1.4 million Unite members.
And some of them are full-time, some are part-time. What's the Unite Community, which you're chair of?
Right, well, Unite Community was brought into action about 5 years ago. Unite's mission to organise people that places equality, dignity, respect for everybody, realised that actually there was a community that they hadn't got organised. So Unite Community was born, making the trade union stronger by bringing in people who are not in paid employment, retired folk, students, the disabled, those in voluntary work, and getting us organised.
But I mean, surely the job of a union is to get people better paying conditions, more money, and if they're not getting paid anything, what's the point of the Unite Community?
Oh, that's been asked a few times. I think what we're finding is that ordinary people are struggling, whether you're on benefits, whether you're in the voluntary sector. And I think the issues is that, yes, of course, it is about people in the workplace. However, there is such a huge community of people that have been active all their lives, some people who have not ever been part of a union, who want to campaign on the issues that affect them. That could be the hospital closures, a doctor's surgery closing, a bus route, to some of the bigger campaigns that we've got behind.
I mean, surely that would normally be the job of the political parties. Say, for example, here in Bristol, the opposition party. So you go to your councillor and you say, I want to keep this bus open, and they would be fighting your corner. So what role does Unite Communities play?
Well, Unite Community, we go out there, we talk to the community first of all, we find out what they want. If it was about a bus route, there may be issues with that, but we talk about to the community. We say, what is it you need? Can we help you? Are you a member? If you're a member, what would you like to do about it? So we give them the opportunity to do some training, some activism courses, just get them a little bit of confidence so that they can then look into the issues that they want to, the places they want to save. I mean, a councillor is all very well, but we know that they don't do anything. They don't listen to people.
Well, sometimes they do. I mean, here in Bristol, the Lib Dems, for example, have been quite good at keeping some bus routes open that otherwise weren't,
Good. No, I mean, it's great, but across the country as a whole, we don't have an awful lot of councillors that may be supporting us for the things that we think.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any way of actually making councillors answer the phone. It's one of the things I've found, for example. So what's in your mind, how is it, how do you separate what you're doing with Bath Against the Cuts from what's happening with Unite Community?
No, I don't need to. Most of it is very similar. What we do is Bath Against Cuts, we're very involved in the Save Fox Hill campaign, which is, a little bit about going on in Bath, which essentially is social cleansing. It's a knocking down of a council estate. Okay, now
this is actually it's been in the news recently,
yes,
hasn't it? It's as I understand it, maybe you can correct me. It's Curo Homes, which is a housing association, want to knock down a load of houses and build a load of new ones.
Yes.
Now, as I understand it, Curo own these properties and they want to demolish them and make some better properties. So surely there's no problem with that. Why should there be?
Well, the issues are far deeper than that. The selling off of the council houses that people don't want to be moved out of is an issue.
So are they council houses or are they owned by housing associations?
They were council houses until the council sold them back into Soma in the early 2000s.
Oh, really? Okay, so these were originally built as council houses, but they've been taken over by a housing association who now wants to demolish them.
And essentially it is for profit. Getting rid of people who don't want to leave their homes. They've lived in their homes all their lives. And the issues is that they're not necessarily going to get the same property where they're building if you wanted it. People are finding that the houses that they have bought, they won't get enough money to buy one of the newer properties. And we've been having, there's another issue, if you've been a resident since 2013, you won't get a replacement home. So
what will happen to your home then?
You'll be knocked down and you'll go back on the waiting list, which is essentially what it is.
Is that for people who've bought their own home?
Yeah. They haven't done the compulsory purchase thing yet, but, there is an issue.
But surely they're going to get compensation, that we'd be paid for the home.
They will do, but if you wanted to buy the same plot of land in the same area on the new build, you won't be able to afford it. You will not get enough money because the price that it is.
Okay, so I'm just thinking, hang on a minute. If those people who've bought their homes have got a freehold on the former council house, then Curo bought, which is now theirs, they don't have that. I mean, surely someone can't come along and say, right, we're going to demolish your house and pay you X, Y, and Z.
No, I think I don't know. I'm not very good on the law, but as it stands, they're not being compulsory purchased as yet.
Right.
But I think
there's the threat there.
There is
the
threat. There is the threat, and one of the issues is, of course, what he's doing. It's taking social housing out of the market. It doesn't matter how many they knock down and build. They are not building enough social. I think we're losing a total of 256 homes that other people would have to buy or be relocated to Taunton, as an example that happened, and we're losing 98 social housing homes. So taking those out of the market is not helpful, because the fact that people are losing their homes, they won't get a new one on the new plot. But you know what people are like? If they're told this is going to happen, then they just have to sort of shrug and accept it. I mean, has there been much of a, feeling in Fox Hill that something, has there been, what's been the turnout, for example, for the public meetings up there? The turnout has been huge, actually. It's been very, very good. But I do think one of the issues is that people who, mostly retired folk, are very vulnerable, and they don't feel they have the strength to want to fight things. They don't have an understanding on how you would do it.
But what's your thoughts about how it's all going to go? Do you think they're going to get away with this? Have they got, how far down the line is it? Have they got planning permission for all of this, that sort of thing, that Curo?
No, that's all still being worked out. They have got an idea of where the land is and who's being knocked down. However, things haven't quite gone to plan for them. So they've had a stay of execution from the business secretary. But now he's given them the green light. So I think now it's a point at which we need to go to the public meetings. We need to talk to people. We need to find out really what's going on. Unfortunately, what I'm hearing is that Curo are now offering some of the people in the social housing homes a £5,000 payoff, which is if you're not in paid employment or you're retired for whatever reason, it's a lot of money. So that is sort of buying them off.
Well, there's only one way to deal with that, folks, I would suggest, and that's get together and say,
yes,
and even if you are going to have a payoff, make sure it's 15,000, not 5,000, before anyone takes it.
I think we need to wait. The issues are what we think they should do and what they would like to do. We have to make sure that we don't do anything that they don't want to do. Yeah,
so you're there to empower rather than to tell anyone what to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, that's one to watch, folks, because the idea that housing association should be knocking down homes to build more expensive ones, I don't think really, as far as I know, that's not housing association's job.
No, well, they're all turning
evicting
into
people, sending them eviction notices.
You can look at the
compulsory purchasing.
We've been. I mean, I know you've seen the film Dispossession. London, what is happening there, the knock-on effect to they're losing their council homes. They're being knocked down for private developers. They're being moved out, and at the same time what is happening in London is that the prices of rent are going up, and that means people who want to live in London or who are working in London are now moving to Bristol, and in that case, because they can afford to rent in Bristol, but that's pushing the prices up in Bristol. So social housing, losing that is costing everybody. And that's an issue that we are looking at.
I can remember talking to the Grenfell Tower people in Ladbroke Grove, saying, well, when they say we're going to redevelop this area or regenerate this area, what they really mean is demolish it.
Yes, quite. And that's what they're doing. There is one lady that's still in her flat in Southwark, You know, she's holding on there because they want to compulsory purchase it, and nothing's happened at the moment. But, you know, there's only a
That's
few
what we
people.
may be looking at Fox Hill, isn't it?
We are. But, you know, again, we have to wait and see what the people
What
want.
they're talking about is Curo taking people out, obviously not killing them, but taking, you know, going one by one and saying, oh, well, here's an offer, we'll sort this out for you, until they've only got maybe one or two left.
Yeah, but
anyway.
but it is social housing. You know, it's going.
Okay, so here's the $64,000 question: what's the solution to the housing crisis? Because what it seems to me is we're just getting rents jacked up all over the place, wherever you are. Whether it's a housing association, actually, the government told them they had to reduce the rents, didn't they? But you know, it's becoming almost impossible to afford rented accommodation. What that means is that when you do get a job, you're finding that almost all your wages is going on rent. And that means, what does that mean? That means that work stops being a way of getting out of poverty. So what can we do about all this, Zarria? What can we do?
Well, we do need to build more homes, and we need to build good quality social homes.
But the government will say, we don't want the price of houses to go down. We you know, because that actually sets the economy on a downward spiral. So,
which I have to say isn't true. I mean, you build social housing, people live in it, people pay their rent, people work, they pay their rent. That rent then goes back into the market. It redevelops. It gives the quality of the housing, and it keeps the prices of private rented down. You know, that's what we're aiming for. We need more social housing.
I did a calculation along with a chap from Liverpool a few years ago. It costs around about £50,000 in terms of materials and labour to build a place, right? If you ignore the cost of the land, and that will be there for roughly 200 years. It's about £1 a week we should be paying in rent for houses. So if you actually look at spreading the cost of building a house over a long period of time, we're paying hundreds of times more than we should be. Anyway, that's just my beef. But look, that's not the only thing you're doing over there. What about? Let's talk a bit more about Bath Against the Cuts, and you know how that's what the focus is there.
Well, at the moment, again, we're going, you know, with the Fox Hill, that's really important. I mean, as you will know, last week the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Bath stepped down. And that in itself is a win, because we've all been supporting the staff up at the university, from UCU, Unison and Unite members, to stop what seems to be happening is that she was getting paid an awful lot of money, and it was in excess of £468,000 a year, plus all the perks. Yet the staff at the Bath University, people I know who are lecturers, are on 0-hour contracts. And in fact, she got a wage rise, and I think her wage rise of 17 grand is more than some of the lower paid staff in the university get in a year. You know, the inequality that's coming to somewhere like, you know, the issues that students are paying more.
It seems like there's no shame.
No, it did seem that was the point.
Maybe the message coming down there from the Vice-Chancellor of a university is, we're going to teach you how to get as much as you can.
But yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't work up there, but what I could see is that you know, the disparity between somebody who gets paid an awful lot of money and the people that really do the work on a day-to-day basis and working with the students.
I mean, isn't the reason that happens is just simply because she can pay herself what she wants?
Absolutely. I don't know the result of them.
Wouldn't you do the same if you were in a position to set your own wages? You'd be paying yourself £500,000 a year, wouldn't you?
Well, personally, probably not. So I wouldn't ask me that question. But they have had meetings, and they will be having more meetings as to how to address that sort of issue. You know, and hopefully we'll resolve that problem. But you know, the students and the staff at Bath University are worth a lot more.
Surely most people, if they could, would pay themselves the most they possibly could.
Well, I don't know if you live in a capitalist society. Yes, you probably do. But most of us want to have enough to live and to enjoy a good standard of life.
I suppose it's another thing
You
is
know?
to do with your self-respect, isn't it? I mean, if you're stood on a podium as the Vice-Chancellor of the university and people are sniggering at you behind their breath, that's not necessarily very dignified. But now
Well,
she's off.
no, but now
she doesn't
she's-
have to put up with it. She's off
Well,
somewhere.
no. I think you'll find that she's now going to work until August next year, and then she's taken 6 months off as a sabbatical. So she's being paid. That's 700 grand.
Maybe she's off to the Maldives or something.
Well, she certainly knows.
Maybe she's been given a job offer somewhere else. Who knows?
We don't know. We don't know.
Anyway, so that's another thing you've been involved in. But, I mean, ultimately, what's your strategy with Bath Against the Cuts? Have you got any... Because, I mean, at the end of the day, this is all decided by central government. What can anyone in Bath do about the cuts?
As a pressure group, we go out, we talk to people, we find the issues that affect them, and we help them campaign on the issues that they want to campaign on. We've with United Community, we're doing very similar, but I'll talk a little bit about that. But with Bath Against Cuts, people bring issues to the meeting. We look at the issues and we say, what help do you want? And then we do that, whether it's getting them to petition the council, whether it's getting them into the council meetings, maybe it is lobbying. We're just giving that opportunity for people. And issues come in, we have a big group which is Protect Our NHS, and we were supporting them when Virgin were trying to take over the contracts in Bath, which unfortunately Virgin got the contracts in Bath. But we did oppose that. Now what we're doing is we were looking at the issues that are now being raised because of the way Virgin are treating its staff.
How are they treating
They're
their
not
staff?
treating their staff very well. They don't like unions, so it's very difficult to get people organised in their workplaces. They sold their whole spiel for Virgin, selling it on IT. It was going to be brilliant. I went to the Health and Select Committee meetings. It was going to be absolutely fantastic. What we found now is that the IT system doesn't work. So people aren't getting paid. The nurses are having to write their own hand prescriptions because the printers don't work. They're getting into their cars after seeing a client. They're having to feed back via an iPad. You might not have any internet connection, but they're being made to work longer, but not with more care for their clients. So I think the issues are huge with Virgin.
Okay, so they're trying to do remote working. Effectively,
Yeah.
They're saying, well, there's no office for you. You're working in your car,
Working in your car.
between clients, or in between.
And the clients, the staff are struggling because they don't want to let their clients down, and no way will they let their clients down. So longer hours, shorter times with their clients, which is what they don't want. So the issues are with Bath Against Cuts, we're supporting the Protect Our NHS group. We do that. We have a group which is Bath Welcomes Refugees. We've got 9 families living in Bath, supported by Bath Welcomes Refugees from Syria. And we've supported them in any way that we possibly can.
Now, one of the things we hear quite a lot is that this whole thing of migrants, actually the real problem for a lot of people, not everyone, but for a lot of people, is economic migrants. What do you think about that, the idea that people coming to Britain really effectively, I mean, surely, a union wouldn't normally be agreeing with people who've come over here to undercut wages. That's a difficult one for people like you.
That's not for the union. That's the bosses not paying the staff. That's an issue. People, if there's work, people should be paid properly. Unfortunately, the migrant population are being undercut. They're being made to work longer hours in not very good working conditions. And what we would do as a union is to try and protect them and make sure they are paid properly.
But with Unite Community, it's a bit different, surely, because you've got a lot of volunteers and people like that. I mean, a union can surely only survive on members' subs. And if you're dealing with people who are volunteers, how much do they have to pay in subs to be part of the Unite Community?
Oh, we're 50 pence a week, believe it or not. It's £2.17 a month. And we get the same rights as you would do if you're in the workplace, apart from we're not represented in the workplace because that's where we're not. So what we do is we pay a contribution. to what it is we are as Unite members. We do look at fundraising. We do look at getting donations from the workplace branches if they, because we support our industrial colleagues. We're out there. If they need us, if they need us on a picket line, if they need us to rally round and get petitions signed, whatever it is that they need us to do, we will do it. So we do talk to the workplaces. And they support us in what we can do because they can't do the things that we can do.
I mean, one of the big things for the cuts in Bristol has been the 1,000 less teachers. What's the situation with education been like over in Bath?
It's dire. We've had one school which was turned into an academy that has now failed. What that means is that the kids that went to that particular school are now being shipped out all over the place. And a lot of those
kids...
What
was that, a secondary school, primary school?
Yeah,
Which school
was
was
that? It was a secondary school that turned into an academy that now failed. So the kids are all being let down. They're all being shipped off. And a lot of them with special needs. The issues around education are huge. I don't work in education, but the situation that you'll see a school that's being turned into something. There's another school that's very vulnerable in the most vulnerable part of Bath. 1 in 4 kids live below the poverty level. They've just lost their national lottery funding. They're not getting any more money from the council.
Well, why is a school being funded by the lottery? I mean,
because they're not being funded properly by the councils and by government. Full stop. They're not getting the money they need.
I mean, some cynical people might say, well, that may be because they're in Labour areas. And
they're not, no.
They're not,
no. Bath isn't, well, it was Lib Dem, then it was a Tory-led council, and now it's a Lib Dem council.
That was Zarria Phillips from Bath Against the Cuts and Unite Community for the whole region. And we'll be having more from her next week.